The Jurassic Park movies are some that are dear to my childhood. I used to love watching these over and over again to see these big dinosaurs, eat people. The funnest thing for me as a child. It might have been early signs to something. But being able to then grow up with a new reincarnation of the franchise was just the coolest thing. That's why today I'm going to go down another trip down memory lane with the Jurassic movies. Jurassic Park. Watching this movie as a kid was just little me wanting to see some cool dinosaur stuff. However, I never realized what this movie truly is. This movie is about testing how much a character can change in the short time frame of 2 hours, disguised as a cool dinosaur film. I didn't realize that this movie is clearly more about the people than the dinosaurs, and it's probably the main reason why the novel got adapted. Jurassic Park follows a pair of paleontologists, Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler, as well as a chaotician, Dr. Ian Malcolm, as they are selected to endorse a park that consists of the living rebirth of dinosaurs. John Hammond invites this small group to his island, of which he is planning to turn into a theme park, to showcase the genius that him and his company spared no expense on. Whilst they are under the false pretense that the park is indeed safe, things do not go as they seemed. This plot exists so that the character development can reign supreme. There are a lot of characters in this film, and there is not a single one that doesn't become a new one by the end. The biggest and most common example of this is Dr. Alan Grant, who before visiting the park is established a dinosaur enthusiast who hates children and disagrees with technology. By the end of the film, he becomes a father-like figure to Hammond's 2 grandchildren, of which use technology to save his life, and is almost killed by his very hobby, dinosaurs. Character changed. This is some really great stuff, and Steven Spielberg adapted it to the big screen flawlessly. This man needs to be celebrated for his genius. He is a master of tension. I'd say the biggest problem with every scene in this film is how overplayed they are, which obviously, recording this, it's not the film's intent, or maybe it was. You can't go anywhere without a clip from this movie being shown. If you take into account that this is a brand new movie that's never been seen by anyone else before, it's got the Spielberg building tension, nail-biting scenes, the cuts vibrating whilst the T-Rex walks, Tim slowly climbing down the fence as Ellie slowly turns power back on at each panel. The whole time you're just like, hurry up, hide. It's really great. It is really great. And obviously, with so much character development, you care about all these characters. All of this stuff had me engaged during the entire runtime of the movie. Even though I've seen it 1,000 times, I know exactly what's going to happen, who's going to die, who's going to survive, I still felt, please hurry up, Seeing the character spreadsheet for this movie as well, Jesus Christ. Every character's got a roller coaster line before they get to the end of the movie, and it is executed perfectly in this film. What can't be excused is the amount of continuity mistakes that give the film massive plot holes, such as the T-Rex paddock becoming a 100-foot drop even though the Rex was just standing on it a minute prior, the glass not shattering as the T-Rex comes down on the car lid and the kids are underneath it. I understand that these things are altered to create suspense and tension, however it just takes my mind away from the immersion. But all in all, this film is absolutely a work of art, no matter how old it gets. I'm meant to be putting these on a tier list, and I don't even have a tier list up or any photos. So Jurassic Park deserves its spot at an A. The Lost World Jurassic Park. Before we get into anything, I just want to quickly preface something. Luca, you were right. This is 100% a horror film. As much as I dislike this film, I was shocked at its PG rating because I was horrified in some situations. I imagined myself in these people's shoes, and it was a big no-no from me. Spielberg's directing shines through. The master of tension prevails once again. There's a really lengthy scene around halfway through the movie. It's about 15 minutes long, where the van is tilting over the edge. Although physics were defined in this scene, the tension was incredible. This movie was also really funny, and I found myself laughing quite a lot. Now, in saying this, these are the only things I enjoyed about this film, because the entire movie just disagrees with me. I can't even tell you what the concept of the plot of this film is, because it chooses to do like 8 different things without resolving anything prior to that. You know, it starts with a research mission, and then it's a rescue mission, and then it's a greedy money corporation thing, then an evil corporate scheme, and then it turns into an intense animal thriller. This movie felt like it wanted to show off its visuals and practical effects a lot more than the first movie, with the dinosaurs getting a lot more screen time in this film, whereas in the previous film they were only there to drive our characters through the runtime. Dr. Ian Malcolm didn't even feel like the same guy anymore. I thought he would carry some more trauma, however he just seemed like a brand new character with no trace of the old chaotician in sight. That's my opinion on the film. I kind of hate it. Spielberg definitely directs some killer scenes, but all the magic seems to be lost. So that's why I'm putting The Lost World, Jurassic Park, at a D. Jurassic Park 3! My favorite as a kid, and I was thankful to find that it still holds up to today's standards. Upon my rewatch, I still loved this movie. This movie was an incredibly fun watch and still had its really gripping characters littered throughout. After being persuaded by a wealthy businessman to conduct an aerial tour of Isla Sorna, Dr. Alan Grant discovers the true reason for his invitation, the rescuing of said businessman's son. I loved how this movie unraveled its secrets and how the island tore certain characters apart and brought other characters together. This whole movie had a really eerie vibe to it, and the entire time I felt tense and creeped out. The island was just freaky by itself. All the dinosaur scenes were so cool. The new raptors looked incredible. They gave them color, a bit of hair, alongside an incredible strand of intellect that they used to scare the audience intelligently in this movie. The Spinosaurus is definitely one of my favorite dinosaurs, and the whole T-Rex battle in this scene was glorious. All in all, if you take this movie for what it is, a scary showcasing of a quarantined dinosaur-infested island that captures emotion through its immersive characters instead of a big follow-up sequel to a sequel that needs to be grounded in realism, then you have a pretty good time with this movie. Definitely gets a rap that it doesn't deserve, and I'm not sure why the general critique of this movie is so poorly received. Saying that, however, there were some moments that I disagreed with. Some characters unwrote themselves in parts. For example, one of Dr. Grant's early lines in the film,
"No force on earth or heaven could get me on that island."
I could write all kinds of numbers on this check, Dr. Grant. Tell me, what's it gonna take?
Besides that, small little gripe, this epic installment still remains my favorite to this very day. That's why it's getting slapped up at an S. This may be nostalgia reasons. Jurassic World. This movie was not as good as I remember. In saying that, it isn't really bad at all. Located off the coast of Costa Rica, the Jurassic World luxury resort provides a habitat for an array of genetically engineered dinosaurs, including the vicious and intelligent Indominus Rex. When the massive creature escapes, it sets off a chain reaction that causes the other dinos to run amok. Now, it's all up to a former military man and animal expert, Owen Grady, to use his special skills to save 2 young brothers and the rest of the tourists from an all-out prehistoric assault. Starting with the positives, this is a blockbuster movie, so it is very fun at times. Watching these beautiful CGI dinosaurs absolutely tarnish the environment around them is just so cool to watch. The score is also amazing in this film. It creates something new and exciting whilst also staying true to the score of John Williams. Something that this movie does really well is to make you care for the actual dinosaurs. In fact, the greatest relationship in this movie is between Owen and the raptors. The cheesy dialogue and badass action scenes accompanied by an incredible score and even better visuals make for a pretty fun time. However, there are moments in the film that are not so great. Rolling back to relationships, the only good one is between Owen and the Velociraptors. In fact, the others fell short, with Owen being the only really good and thought out character in the entire movie. The 2 kids in the film, Zach and Gray, are the sole purpose for the audience to be witnessing Jurassic World. We are there because they are there. However, even though they are literal brothers, these guys just feel non-existent. Not only do they have extremely limited screen time, but anytime they are on screen, Gray gives a small expedition dump and then Zach is just completely overlooked. Although I think Bryce Dallas Howard did an amazing job acting in this film, her character was all over the place. The Indominus Rex was awesome, but why did they make it? It was stupid enough to make the park again, given the previous knowledge, but why would they genetically make a dinosaur crossbred with a T-Rex and a raptor? I understand that it was all for money, both in the film and out of the film. This movie grossed over $1 billion, it's insane. However, a pretty entertaining movie was created out of it, so the experience is definitely still worth watching. So Jurassic World is getting put at a B, not the best, but definitely not the worst. It just, some of the characters fell flat. Okay. Next up, we have Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. This movie is awful. I want to quickly touch upon the two things that I enjoyed about this movie. It is a really good looking film. The CGI has surpassed the level of real life. It looks better than life. I want to be there. The set pieces were constructed very well, and some of the camera work was quite impressive. Dr. Ian Malcolm makes a return in this film, and he has some absolutely incredible dialogue. So, 3 years after the destruction of the Jurassic World theme park, Owen Grady and Claire Dearing return to the island of Isla Nublar to save the remaining dinosaurs from a volcano that's about to erupt. They soon encounter terrifying new breeds of gigantic dinosaurs, while uncovering a conspiracy that threatens the entire planet. Cued in, that's the first half of the movie. The last hour out of this 2-hour film is spent inside this mansion. Now, the mansion was larger and had multiple areas throughout, so different settings, but it's all still the same setting. That's seriously half the film. An hour, that's so crazy to me, especially when the whole film's marketed for saving the dinosaurs off this island. Anyway, I hate this movie. I remember seeing this as a kid with one of my mates, and we were so hyped for this. 2018 was a different time, man. I remember not liking it much as a kid. My rewatch of this movie made The Lost World look like Citizen Kane. I forgot I wrote that. I mean, what? I'm not reading off a script, you are. This movie actually made me appreciate The Lost World because there were parts of the movie that I actually liked in The Lost World. Throughout this entire movie, I felt so empty and uninvested. It's so boring, which is strange considering all the Jurassic World franchises now is giant dinosaurs fighting. How do you make something like that boring? It took itself so seriously, it was deprived of any plot. The entire concept for the first half anyway is so uninteresting. Every single character in this film felt like an NPC. The only one that I liked was Dr. Malcolm, and he was in the movie for all of about 45 seconds. Everyone else felt not real. Owen Grady, the one good character from the previous film, did not feel the same. Blue, one of the best characters from the previous film, did not feel the same. Although she did get shot straight away. So. The little girl is like a clone. Not a single character had any form of motivation except Dr. Ian Malcolm. However, the audience will only understand his motivation if they've watched the previous films. I didn't even think about doing this until now, but I think this deserves its own tier. You know what? No, it doesn't. Put that back there. Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I actually like this movie. I remember watching it in theaters thinking it wasn't the best, but I still enjoyed my time watching it. This was another movie that I was definitely hyped for because the hype train for the Jurassic franchise... Shut up, man. Thank you. Probably can't even hear them. Their dog's barking, I promise. I've taken my meds today. As humans and dinosaurs of all shapes and sizes become part of a fragile system, Claire and Owen live in seclusion in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, protecting their adopted 14-year-old daughter, Maisie. However, trouble is brewing. When global biotech giant Biosyn Genetics becomes involved in the mysterious disappearance of a human clone, Dr. Ellie Sattler embarks on a mission to uncover the truth and expose the unexpected new adversary that threatens the entire food chain. So as I was saying, I enjoyed this movie. It is by far the best looking movie my days. Not just the CGI, but the cinematography is at times breathtaking. It does really good at showcasing dinosaurs in an environment in a very creative way and very refreshing. I think the biggest problem that I have with this film is how seriously it takes itself, and I'll touch upon that later. This movie is pretty much two films crammed into one. We follow two different sets of characters with two completely different plot points. Obviously, by the end, there is a collaboration with both Jurassic series characters as they take on the Gigantosaurus, which is awesome. I enjoyed Claire and Owen's story as well, probably the most. It was extremely simple and it had some really fun sequences and awe-inspiring sets. The other storyline, however, it was pretty heavy. The other storyline that Dr. Ian Malcolm, Dr. Alan Grant, and Dr. Ellie Sattler follow is the attempt to stop world domination by cutting off the world's food supply and controlling it in the form of genetically modified lotus. What? I also didn't like Henry Wu in this movie. A standout in all the other movies, as BD Wong is such an incredible actor. The character of Dr. Wu seems like a completely different person in this movie. He's way too quick to change and in no hesitation just decides to do the complete opposite of what he said he was going to do 5 seconds ago. I enjoyed the on-screen presence of the dinosaurs and I feel like they weren't as forced as the previous film. The giant dude is so cool, but I hate how she was defeated. The other dinos, not surprisingly the T-Rex, just double teamed her and bang, it was all over. That kind of sucked. I hate how much they milk the Rex in these films. They're just like, oh, they liked that in the first movie, why don't we make it win in every single movie? In fact, why don't we put two of them in the next one? It just comes back every movie and defeats everything. That's why I like Jurassic Park 3 so much, because it died. Spinosaurus is on top. That's my opinion of this film, and it is going at a C. But that's my completely controversial opinions of the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, Jurassic franchise. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure it's very different. A lot of people loved Fallen Kingdom, and I'm guessing a lot of people hated the first Jurassic Park. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.